For this video, we're just going to do some additional piecewise examples so we get some extra practice in since they're a little more challenging. So to start with, I have f of x equals, I have two equations, x plus 5 and x squared plus 2x plus 3. Now this x plus 5, that's a line, that's our linear. Oops, I need that to be a different color. All right, this is our linear, so it's a line, and then this one's our quadratic. So that's going to be our U shape. All right, and then my number that I'm working with is this -2. So if I look at my -2 on my x-axis, make my vertical line, there's where my graph is split. So on one side I'm going to have one of the graphs, on the other side I'm going to have the other. So if I look at x plus 5, the linear, that's for all the x's that are less than -2. So less than -2 is going to be to the left. So on this side I'm going to have x plus 5. And that means on this side I have x squared plus 2x plus 3. So I'm going to start with graphing the x plus 5. I'm going to go to 5 on my y-axis, put a point, and then my slope is +1. So that's up 1, right 1, but that's going in the wrong direction. I want to be on the left side, so I'm going to go down 1, left 1. And just keep going until I get into the left side of that dotted line. So I know my graph is going to look like this. And then I need to look and see what kind of circle to use. So this is just less than, so that means I'm going to use an open circle. Right, and then I can go back in and erase those other points because they're on the wrong side. I need that to be my quadratic. All right, and then for the quadratic, I think the easiest thing is just to make a table because we need some exact points. And I know I'm starting at -2 and going to the right, so I'm going to do a table or points like -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and just to get an idea of where my graph is going to go. So if I plug in -2, -2 squared is 4. 2 times -2 is -4, and then plus 3. So 4 minus 4 is 0, plus 3 is 3. -1 squared is 1. 2 times -1 is -2. So then -1 plus 3 becomes 2. 0 squared and 2 times 0 goes away, so I'm left with 3. Plug in 1, we get 1. 2 times 1 is 2. So that becomes 3 plus 3 is 6. And then one more, we got 2 squared is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. So that becomes 8 plus 3, 11. So we'll just ignore that one since it's really big. All right, so -2 and then up to 3, which is the same point we were before. All right, and then we got -1, 2, 0, 3, and then 1, 6. So here's my U shape. Okay, I got to look and see what kind of dot we use, and this one is or equal to, so I'm going to have a closed circle. All right, so there's my piecewise. Now for the domain, right, it goes to the left forever, it goes to the right forever, so the only place I have to look is here, and there's no skipping, right? The point comes up here and then keeps going as blue. So my domain's all real numbers, -infinity to +infinity. My range, this goes down forever, this goes up forever, and there's no skipping. So again, -infinity to +infinity. To look and see if it's a function, it's got to pass the vertical line test, which it does because here is our only area of concern, and there aren't 2 points. It's just 1 because the red's an open circle and the blue is a closed circle, so it is a function. The other types of questions that we have are like f of 3, f of -4, f of -2. These are where you plug in values for x. So f of 3, first I have to find which equation I use based on the domain over here. So 3 is greater than -2. So I'm going to use the bottom equation. So if I plug in 3, we end up with 3 squared, which is 9. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 3, and that gives us 18. -4 is less than -2, so I'm going to use the top equation. So that becomes -4 plus 5, which is 1. And then -2 is equal to -2, so that's going to be the bottom. So -2 squared is 4. 2 times -2 is -4. And then plus 3 gives us 3. Okay, so you pick which inequality it fits in to determine which equation you plug it in for x. Okay, for our next example, we've got 3 equations. We've got a quadratic, a linear, and a linear. Okay, so that means I've got 2 dotted lines I'm going to have to use. One of them's at 0, one of them's at 5. All right. So I got 3 sections for my graph. The one that's to the left of 0, less than 0, is going to be that x squared minus 1, that's my quadratic. Then from 0 to 5, we've got 2x minus 1. And then from everything to the right side of 5, we've got 3. So I'm going to start with the 2x minus 1 because that's a linear that's easy to graph. So if I go to negative 1, that's my y-intercept, and then my slope is 2, so I'm going to go up 2, right 1. And I'm just going to keep graphing for all the points inside my section here from 0 to 5. So this is what my equation or my graph looks like. I got to see what kind of circles we use on each of the dotted lines. So on the left line, it's greater than 0, not or equal to, so this one's got to be an open circle. On the right side, it's or equal to, so this one's going to be a closed circle. Alright, then I'm going to do the 3. So remember, this is like y equals 3, and that's a horizontal line. So I'm going to go 3 and just have a horizontal line coming to the right. This one's just greater than, so it's got to be an open circle. Alright, and now for the x squared minus 1. Again, it's a quadratic, so we're just going to make a quick table. But now I know I want some values to the left of 0. So maybe we'll do 0 and negative 1 and negative 2 and negative 3 and see if that's enough to give us that U shape. So if I plug in 0, 0 squared is 0, minus 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1, and 1 minus 1 is 0. Negative 2 squared is 4, 4 minus 1 is 3. And negative 3 squared is 9, minus 1 is 8. So I've got 0, negative 1, which is the same point there, and then negative 1, 0, negative 2, 3, and then negative 3, 8, which is way up here somewhere, way up top. Alright, so here's my graph. A little crooked. Alright, and this one is or equal to, so that means I'm going to have a closed circle down here. Alright, my domain. This goes to the left forever, this side goes to the right forever, and there's no skipping on x values. So that means my domains are real numbers. Alright, my lowest point is this one down here, and then the blue graph alone goes up all the way forever. So we can ignore the red and this other blue just because this quadratic kind of overpowers them. So my lowest point's a negative 1, and it's going to go up forever. And I have a point there. It's included because it's a closed dot, so I'm going to put a bracket around my negative 1. Okay, if I look at my vertical line test, this does pass, so it is a function. And now I'm going to plug in my x value. So negative 2 is between 0, it's less than 0. So I'm going to use the top one. So I got negative 2 squared is 4, minus 1 is 3. 0 is equal to, so that's also the top one. 0 squared is 0, minus 1 is negative 1. And 5 fits in the middle one because of that or equal to. Alright, so it's 2 times 5 is 10, minus 1 gives us 9. And for this last example, we're actually going to do the opposite, where instead of graphing, we're going to write the equation that goes along with this piecewise graph. So I'm going to start with my f of x equals, and put my bracket. I know I'm going to have 3 equations because I've got 3 sections to my graph. I'm just going to go ahead and fill in my dotted lines. So the numbers I'm going to work with in my domain are negative 1 and positive 1. That's where I have my sections. So if I start with the far left side, this is a linear equation. Right, whenever we do a linear equation, we use our slope-intercept form. So we got y equals mx plus b. So I need to know my slope and my y-intercept. So if I look at my slope, see, it looks like here's a point, right? And here's a point. So it looks like it's about a slope of up 1, right 1. Right? So if it's a slope of up 1, right 1, that's just a slope of 1. So that's 1x. And then if I keep that slope going, I'm going to get a y-intercept at 2. So that's going to be plus 2. Alright, so my equation for the first one is x plus 2. Alright, we'll come back and do our domains in a minute. For the next one, it's another line, so it's also mx plus b. Right, this one's easier because it gives me a y-intercept because it crosses a y-axis, and it looks like it also has a slope of 1. Alright, so my slope is 1. My y-intercept in this one's 3. So we got x plus 3. And then for the last one, again, another line. So if I look at my slope, it looks like it's also a slope of 1. So I got a 1x. And then if I keep it going to get back to the y-intercept, it looks like I got one at 1. So this one's going to be x plus 1. Alright, I'm going to clear out some of this stuff over here so that we can see it better. Now we've got to look at our open and our closed circles to see what kind of inequalities we're going to write. So for the first one, it's definitely everything to the left of -1. So that's going to be all the x's less than -1. Right? And then because it's a closed circle, I have to have an or equal to. Right? For the bottom one, for this far right, it's everything bigger than +1. So that's all the x's greater than 1. And again, a closed circle, I have to have or equal to. And in the middle, it's going to go from -1 to 1. So we always put -1 to 1, x in the middle, use less than signs. And both of these are open circles, so both of them are just going to be less than, no or equal to. And you could put a comma in here or an if, however you want to write. So this piecewise represents this graph over here.